Hey everyone, today I thought we'd talk about the Glyphs. The Glyphs were a mechanic introduced through the Seasonal Archive, selected through challenges. They first appeared in Tome 6, the first glyph color being red, and simply requiring you to locate the glyph and interact with it, which just involved touching it for a few seconds. The glyphs slowly became more unique, appearing in different colors as the archives went on, and then slowly requiring you to complete certain challenges or locate them in specific areas. Some glyphs even cause you to suffer from negative statuses after interacting with them. One thing I've always wondered though is what we're actually doing when we interact with the glyphs. What even are the glyphs? Why are they appearing in the trials? What do their colors mean? They're kind of just a complete mystery. To understand the glyphs, I think it's important to look at how we interact with them. First of all, they only appear when the player who has the glyph challenge approaches them. They are also the only player who is capable of interacting with them, which causes them to disappear completely. Some glyphs are also only available to killers, and some to survivors. Red and green were available to both. Blue, yellow, and white to survivors only, then purple and orange to killers only. Red and green, the universal glyphs, are simple glyphs that appear randomly in the trial grounds when selected, red appearing randomly around the trial, and green appearing in place of totems. There appears to be no effect after interacting with them. Blue, yellow, and white are survivor-only glyphs, present the survivor with a challenge, and typically a dangerous one. Blue applies either the blindness status or the oblivious status, after interaction for 60 seconds. In some blue glyph challenges, you also have to escape the trial. Yellow glyphs give the player a set of difficult skill checks. Failure to complete the skill checks causes the glyph to flee and appear elsewhere. The white glyph is possibly the most interesting glyph. Once found, you can retrieve an item known as the pocket mirror from the glyph. This mirror is fragile, and breaks if the player vaults, falls from a height, or is attacked. The player has to deliver it to the basement undamaged, and place it back into a second white glyph to repair the mirror. Escaping with the mirror also gives a sizable BP reward. Thanks by the way to Miss Fab for the White Glyph gameplay. I've actually completed all my White Glyph challenges unfortunately, so I didn't have any gameplay. You can go check out their Twitch channel, link below. The purple and orange glyphs provide a similar challenge to the killers. Purple glyphs move around throughout the game, and are located by a trail that they leave behind. You can briefly see their location after hooking a survivor. Orange glyphs are the newest type, and are visible to the killer as soon as they spawn into the trial. To complete the glyph, you have to hook survivors. Interacting with it gives you a spirally visual effect on your screen, or it used to at least, because apparently they were changed. So now it actually applies a debuff to you, in the form of a greater cooldown for missed attacks, a greater stun duration for pallets, or a slower break speed for pallets and breakable walls. One of those three. It's strange that the survivors and killers in-game decide to do these, essentially nerfing themselves in the trials by interacting with these things. In universe, what is the purpose of the glyphs if they don't benefit the character who interacts with them? Why would the survivors and killers bother with them if it didn't benefit them in some capacity? The glyphs spawn as a result of selectable challenges that appear in the archives. The archives having a close tie to the observer, appearing as volumed books that categorize different periods of time in the realm, and the memories the observer experiences during them. The obvious answer therefore would be that the glyphs are being sent by the observer, a possible connection from his tower that is in a different pocket of the entity's realm, and maybe the only way he is capable of actually communicating with the survivors and killers. The glyphs and their effects, after all, do appear similar to the kind of effect created by the observer's Aurus. Their visual look is also portal-like, suggesting that they are holes torn between the two different dimensions or pockets. This could also explain why we are punished for completing these glyph challenges. If we are helping the observer by interacting with the glyphs, it's probably not in the entity's best interest, and therefore when you complete them, the punishment of, say, a negative status could be a result of the entity's displeasure. You do get blood points from completing these though, which potentially suggests the entity is in fact okay with it, what with that being an entity-given reward, but that could just be for gameplay purposes. The only issue with the idea that the observer is sending the glyphs is that the glyphs are still appearing up to Tome 12, yet the observer is gone. It was only recently that he disappeared from his tower, but he has not yet returned returned, despite the glyphs persisting. If they are sent by the observer, it's possibly to strengthen his bond to the trials in the realm. The way the glyphs appear, they almost seem like they're mapping out the area. The red and blue appear just about anywhere, fairly randomly, the green in place of totems, and the white specifically requests you go to the basement, for example. I'm kind of thinking of them like those smartboard calibrations that teachers would do in school. Maybe that's just a UK thing, I don't know. But it's almost like connecting these two areas with the glyphs, allowing the observer to better understand the trials and their layouts. Almost like they're calibration points, small portal-like connections that map out the trial grounds. The basement being the closest to the entity requiring a physical object to forge this connection. A revealing lore entry is Arcus 984, which appeared in Tome 4. It reads as follows: "More luminous energy sent to me by an unknown ally. With this energy, I was able to open a small window that allowed me to look into a lost realm, where I saw to my great surprise a city with survivors living as though nothing was out of the ordinary. The window eventually closed, and I spent the entire evening imagining how such a thing could be possible, or if it was merely an illusion. The same night, another surge of energy permitted me to open a doorway into a realm I didn't much recognize or dare to explore. I stared at the scintillating doorway until it faded out of existence. It's as though the one manifesting these sacred glyphs is trying to help me delve deeper into the mysteries of this dimension. Or perhaps he is suggesting that the answers to my salvation are hidden amongst the countless realms discarded by this old one since time immemorial." So, super interesting. The way the observer speaks during this Arcus entry greatly suggests that he has no idea who is sending the glyphs, suggesting only that they are an ally, and the glyphs are being sent to help in some capacity. The glyphs are also manifesting seemingly at random in the observer's tower, much like how they appear for us in the trials. This also makes sense that now the observer is gone, we are still getting glyphs, because it wasn't him sending them in the first place. This Arcus entry further suggests that the glyphs are being used to help us in some way. Potentially they are even these small windows that are almost tearing into other realms. The observer sees through one of these openings a city with survivors living as though nothing was out of the ordinary. What he sees is a city full of the survivors, out of the realm, together, in some kind of safe city, which is weird, right? It finally suggests that these glyphs are appearing to help the observer delve deeper and uncover the mysteries of the dimension where the survivors are hiding, living together and safe. The observer's investigations into different realms throughout the cutscenes could be him trying to find this safe realm once more, to try and forge a connection between it and the entity's realm, a passage of sorts. The glyphs acting as these mini anchors or openings between the two, or maybe it is a similar calibration thing. After the glyphs begin manifesting, soon after in Arcus 986, the tower begins to get attacked by horrible creatures with fangs for teeth. Arcus 987 then recounts a large surge of energy entering the tower. Another incident woke me in the middle of the night. An incredible surge of energy coming to me from an undetermined source. At first, I thought my mind had given way to illusions and wild imaginings, until I realized the energy surging through my tower was widening yet another doorway into a lost realm, composed of memories from an unremembered civilization lost to time. I approached and stared into the remnants of a war-torn, abandoned city, with the eerie cry of a baby echoing in the distance. Just as I made to enter the lost realm, the scintillating doorway shrunk and sizzled out of existence. I soon realized it may very well be possible to explore this old one from my tower, with the help of this unique energy and the Oris. So, possibly what we're doing with the glyphs is actually harvesting energy in some form to aid the observer or strengthen his connection to the outside world, potentially the Oris's power too. He says these glyphs have unique energy, and so our communing with many different glyph types could be this energy simply manifesting in different ways. The pocket mirror may even be an experiment into the transferal of physical objects, a possible plan for the eventual escape from the realm. If objects can be retrieved from the glyphs, renewed elsewhere in the trial grounds, then surely the survivors and killers could possibly exit if these glyph openings became large enough. The pocket mirror is further an interesting item. I've always thought it looked very similar to the affixed object on the Moonlight offerings, which are now retired. possibly a mirror that reflected the moon that appeared in the sky. Its confiscation after the trial shows that it's definitely an item the entity has little control over, so removes it from the player, a bit like Leon's flashbangs. The object of a mirror is also interesting. The way the observer describes the survivors separate and safe in another city, it could be interpreted as a mirror dimension to the entity's realm, its opposite, a place where all the survivors have been collected, but this time not for the eternal purpose of death. The repaired mirror, glowing with light, may even be a small window into this dimension, and so in the darkness of the realm, it beams out. In Tome 12 we have an interesting entry. Listen to a few memories of a deranged miner named Evan on the phonograph. In a nearby pile of discarded stories, I even found comic books, inspired by the very same memories. Seems to me that these comics were created by artists and authors, who somehow dreamed of this maniac and his crimes. True in one world, fiction in another. And, I suppose, vice versa. Makes me wonder if someone in another world is dreaming and writing about us. This has been proven true much of the time throughout the lore, that the multiverse basically makes all things possible. Here it suggests that comics are being written about the Trapper, which behavior should totally do by the way. It envelops us even as players of Dead by Daylight. This would therefore suggest that somewhere there is a realm where there is something capable of beating the entity, destroying it or eclipsing it, maybe even the entity's mirrored positive, a good entity, something that through the glyphs we can reach. That's what I think at least. That the glyphs are some kind of bond between the entity's realm and a realm that is capable of saving those inside the entity's realm, a mirrored better version. In that better world, something reaching out and connecting, something that the entity forbids, and maybe even fears. Another old one maybe, but one unlike the entity, good. Potentially a creature that harvests the positive emotions of humans, reflecting the entity's harvesting of the negative in-game, or primarily the negative at least. Maybe that city full of survivors is just like the realm. They're all being used to feed an entity, but instead with happiness and joy. By connecting to this world, there just might be salvation yet. Let me know what you think about all this. I wanted to talk about the glyphs, as they're kind of a big deal in terms of challenges, being the most unique kind in the tomes, and I've never really heard anyone talk about what they are really, so please do let me know. Thanks, and goodbye.